We're here at Mid-America Truck Show, Louisville, Kentucky, and I got me a special guest. Now, I'm going to tell you, we had to really pull some strings to get this done. It took a little persuasion, but I finally got Mr. KC Phillips here with us. He is the Sirius XM host on what times? 11 to 2?
11 to 2 Eastern, yeah. 8 to 11 Pacific.
8 to 11 Pacific. And I actually, you know, my whole goal was to try to sit down with KC because I know a lot of people know him just from Sirius XM and hear him during the day, every weekday, talking trucking and how dedicated you are to trucking and truck drivers. But, you know, there's more to KC than Sirius XM on the weekdays. And I just want people to realize that. You know, we've become friends over the last few years and spent a little time together, and our wives hit it off, and it's just, you know, I think you're a great story, and I wanted to give our listeners at Oakley Trucking a little bit more about who KC Phillips is and what he does. So get us cranked off here. I always do most of my podcast episodes is give us a little self-introduction, KC.
Well, number one, I would just want to say I'm honored. I've never done anything like this. I don't like cameras. You know, the saying about guys in radio is they got a face for radio, right? And many times it's the voice for newspaper too. That's the one you don't ever hear. I got a voice for newspaper, but I am honored that you asked, and so thank you. My name is KC Phillips. I host Road Dog Live. It can be heard Monday through Friday, 11 to 2 Eastern Time on Sirius XM 146 Road Dog Trucking Radio. And I'm a Hoosier. Grew up in southern Indiana, about 15 minutes from where we sit right now. So I grew up in the Louisville metropolitan area and had a great childhood.
This is a hometown for you.
Folks used to bring us to the Louisville Redbirds games at this location, at the Kentucky Fair and Exposition Center. And so back in the 80s when they were raising and beating all of the attendance records, I was a little 10-year-old kid running around with my buddies, and my parents would bring us to the stadium, which they've torn down now at this location. So the Louisville Truck Show for me is really a homecoming, and it's now that I live in Nashville, Tennessee, it's a wonderful way to come visit family. I get to see my brother, and I get to see my cousins, and so it's always nice. But grew up right here, moved to Tennessee in 2004, and that started my career in trucking. In 2004, I moved down to Nashville to take a job with an outfit called Fastline. Now, Fastline's an advertising company that sells used truck equipment. They're headquartered up in LaGrange, Kentucky, so just right up the interstate. And they hired me to be the Indiana rep. And the day that I accepted the job, they had a rep down in Tennessee leave his job. He put in his 2-week notice, and they said, we really need somebody down in Nashville. Would you be willing to relocate? So I had not even talked to Susan about it, and I said, yeah.
So you're already married at this time?
I am married at this time, yeah. I said, yeah, we'll do it. So the current company I was with was going to transfer me to Cincinnati. So I was already getting into that mode where I might have to leave Louisville. And so I said, yeah, let's do it. You know, just leap of faith. And so talked to my wife about it, said, honey, we're moving, but we're not moving to Cincinnati. We're going to move to Nashville.
Aero Truck Sales has been in business for over 60 years and a longtime partner of Oakley Trucking and the Oakley Podcast. Trey Visor and Keith Wilson do a great job at putting you in the right truck to fit your needs and our needs here at Oakley. They carry all makes and models to choose from with on-site financing through transport funding. So whether you are a seasoned owner-operator or a first-time buyer, be sure to contact Keith Wilson at Aero Truck Sales at 573-216-6047 and tell him you heard it on the Oakley Podcast.
So I got into advertising sales in the trucking industry. And so the second day I was down in Nashville, I was working in town, and I was working with one of my managers, and they took me into the Volvo dealership in town, and sat down across the desk from a guy named Joe Nacarado. And Joe told me on that very meeting,
Can't forget that name.
You can't spell it, and you can't forget it. But he told me in that first meeting that you don't know anything about trucking, but the only thing you need to remember, the people in trucking. That was the first thing he said to me in 2004, and it's stuck. Ever since then, it has always resonated with me because he was right on the money, man. Trucking is just about people, and it's about serving people. And so I always kept that in the back of my mind. So fast forward about 2 years, Joe Nacarado became my boss. He hired me to sell trucks, and I went to work for Volvo Trucks, selling at the dealer level. Got to know the equipment. Really loved that brand. It's, I think, a cutting edge brand, really focusing on the creature comforts in the cab of the truck, which I think are very important. And they were very aerodynamic. So you had fuel economy going. So it seemed like a really easy sell. It was a good product to be part of. And so I did that for about 5 years. Then 2008 hit, and the Great Recession took over. And being a capital equipment salesman in 2008 is a very tough life because everything dried up. I had sold in 2007 about 80 power units, and I sold 2 power units in 2008.
Wow.
So the writing was on the wall. I went to my management, and I was like, listen, I said, I need something to change. I said, because I'm out of savings. I've been paying my mortgage on a credit card. You know, I was in it, and I was not knowing what to do. And they said, go sell more trucks. And I was like, okay, well, then there you go. I got to go sell more trucks. So I already had been talking with a guy who was one of my customers, who was a growing fleet, and he needed somebody to come in and help him with his operations. So he had extended a job offer to me. And so I jumped from truck sales into an operations position with a small fleet, truckload fleet out of Smyrna. We did a lot of Nissan inbound parts. They got a location in Canton, Mississippi as well. So I went on board with him. I helped him write some policies, driver policies. We worked on the maintenance department. I worked in operations. I sold brokerage. I managed drivers. I got a really fast immersion over 2 years of running a trucking company. And most importantly, I got to manage truckers and get to know how to talk with folks, what some of the important things were that they thought about. I sat in on safety meetings. We put programs together. It was a really wonderful job. So the whole time that this is happening, I'm getting more and more immersed into what trucking is.
And you're keeping in mind what Joe told you.
I keep it in mind what Joel told me, but in the background, what I didn't know was I went to church with a guy named Dave. So one day I'm walking into church, and I have my Volvo shirt on, and you just heard this story, actually. Yeah. And I passed this little guy who was walking out, older fella, and he's like, hey, do you work for Volvo? I said, yeah, I work for Nacarado Volvo downtown. He's like, well, I'm Dave Nemo. And I was like, who? He's like, yeah, man, Dave Nemo. I'm in trucking radio. I said, trucking radio? What is trucking radio? He's like, oh, man, it's on Sirius XM. It's the best thing. He said, man, it's really good to get to know you. So Dave Nemo and I started a relationship in the hallway in church, and I had no idea that trucking radio was even a thing. It was news to me. So I worked for the trucking outfit, and about 6 months later, I get a call, and it's Dave Nemo. And he said, hey, Sirius XM has asked me to develop a weekend show, and I was wondering if you'd want to come in the studio and talk on the radio about what you know about trucking. I was like, okay, well, I know a little about trucking, but I guess I could. What time I need to be there? He said 5 o'clock. I'm like,
in the morning.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get there. He's like, well, just come on. We'll sit you down, and we'll talk about what's going on. So I went in on that Saturday morning, and Michael Burns was there. You know Michael, he's Dave's managing partner. And Dave said, all right, here's what we're going to do. This is Z Taylor. He said, Z, this is KC Phillips. He's like, this is the Taylor and Phillips show. And I was like, wait, what? What? And he's like, yeah. And he swung the mic in front of my mouth. The music started, and we were doing a radio show. And Michael Burns said, hey, we got a guy we want to introduce you to. It's KC Phillips. KC, say hello. And all of a sudden, I am talking on the radio as a radio show host with
zero experience,
no real understanding of what was getting ready to happen. So that started the Taylor and Phillips show, which we ran that for about 2 years. It got easier, So
what'd you come out of there thinking that first day?
That Dave is crazy, and I'm going, Dave. He set me up, man. But you know what it's like? It's like throwing a Labrador into the water. You just got to teach him to swim.
So why do you think he picked you? Why do you think that happened?
Well, the story goes that they were looking for somebody to do the weekend show, and he didn't really have anybody. He had talked to a couple of different people, but his wife, Cheryl, who's a dear friend, had kept bugging him in his ear. You need to talk to KC. You need to talk to KC. He's gregarious. He talks with people. And I do love meeting people and talk because I've been in sales for so long. And it's really interesting to get to know people and to hear their story, just like what we're doing. See, I'm typically not on this side.
Right.
I'm sitting where you're sitting.
Right.
And you know that because I interview you all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But so he gave me the opportunity because his wife told him to.
That's what it boils down to.
That's exactly.
But getting to know you through church, I think.
Getting to know it, yeah.
You get to know them through church. She had a little input in it, though. So.
Cheryl. And, she gives me a rash every time I see her. I say, Cheryl, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. She's like, stop thanking me. I said, it's so important because she really did. She gave me my career. And just because she wouldn't let Dave not ask me to do it. It's crazy. So it's right place, right time.
Yep.
The right experience and the right life, I guess, skills. I hate to even say it, but I just like to talk to people. My mom was a gabber. And I really love trucks, and I love trucking. I love the people.
We understand that you want to make a good living and that you make our living. We only take on independent contractors, and to be honest with you, we are very particular on who we lease on. You must have a good driving record, good work history, and clean, dependable truck. So if you're interested in Oakley Trucking or just want some more information, you can go to oakleytrucking.com, listen to our weekly podcast, The Oakley Podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Well,
So-
you're authentic too. I mean, that's what to me people connect with. Being authentic about what you're doing and being excited about what you're doing. You know what Dave tell us a while ago.
You can spot a fake a mile away.
Truck driver can spot a fake a mile away.
That's true.
You gotta be in it all in at once.
Dave said to me when that first show was over, he said, never forget that you work in service to a service industry. And if you keep that in mind, the rest of your career, everything's going to be fine. Just be yourself.
Yeah.
And so, that has turned out to be really true.
Yeah.
So after working with Z Taylor on the Taylor and Phillips show for about 2 years, unfortunately, Dale Summers, the trucking bozo, got sick. And Sirius, once again, had another problem because who can fill that spot?
Yeah.
Nobody. He died on August 24th of 2014. I remember the day because it was during the Great American Trucking Show, and they announced it in Dallas and you should have seen the whole show just hushed. Everything stopped because of who Dale Summers was.
Yeah.
And so Sirius XM called and they said, hey, we want you to cover that spot. We need you to cover it for about 6 months. I was working the weekend show and they wanted me to come in. I had never done a solo show and they were plugging me in to fill in for Dale Summers. Just
pressure.
It was tough, man. But the one thing I will say is that the trucking community is gracious, and they took me under their wing. They were able to help me through the first few trucking shows by just making a part of their community out of the parking lot. And it got right back to what Nacarado said. It's just about the people.
Yeah, that's what it is about, and that's why you make such a good connection with the people, and that's what we do here at the Oakley Podcast too. We like to bring people that make connections with the people. I mean, that's good. So you got a family?
Got a family. Got 2 daughters. Very proud of them. My oldest daughter is 24, and her name's Emma. And then Abigail is my 22-year-old, and Emma actually works and lives in Louisville.
Oh, does she?
So yeah, she's got a crazy job, man. She teaches sex ed to kids in high school because the health departments for the public schools and the parochial schools, they don't want to take that work on. So they hire a third party to come in and teach their kids about healthy relationships.
Yeah.
So she stands up in front of crowds and gives speeches. It's a public address type of job. So it's really
good
a
for
cool
her.
thing. Yeah, she loves it. Successful with that. And my youngest daughter is getting ready to graduate. She's actually got a radio show. She works on 95.1 FM out of Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Oh yeah, you told me that. That's right.
Isn't that crazy? So she's got a 4-hour show. Her name's Abby, and she's on Goober 95.1.
Yeah.
It's great. So she's an intern though, really, but they gave her an on-air job, and so she doesn't want to. I don't think she's going to stay.
Wife Susan.
Wife is Susan. Yeah, she's a school teacher, and loves dealing one-on-one with kids. She tutors children and tries to help them along their way. And so, yeah,
Well,
just living in Nashville, trying to make ends meet. I actually work 2 jobs. I know you know this, but I run a construction job on the side, just handyman work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll hand out business cards if y'all need one. Just
Well,
moved
that's
to
probably
Nashville.
something a lot of people don't know about you. I don't know if you say much about that on the show or not.
I've mentioned it in
but,
passing.
doing
yeah.
that handyman work, it's
Yeah, plumbing, carpentry, light electrical, painting, drywall repairs, some flooring.
What about when you're not doing your 2 jobs? What are y'all doing?
Is there anything else to do? Yeah.
You and Susan, y'all go. You get to do anything with the girls? Y'all get together annually or something, or what?
Well, they're really close. So we come up here a lot and see Emma. And then Abby being in school, a lot of times we'll pick her up on the way. Now, Abby's probably going to move back to home for a little bit after college. She wants to live in Nashville. She wants to get into country music somehow, some way. And that's the place to be, right?
Yep.
So yeah, just in that we're in that really interesting place because we've been empty nest, and I know you know what that's like. We've been empty nest for about 3 or 4 years now. We love it because we're able to reconnect as a couple. And now one of the kids wants to move back. It's like, honey, you need to find something to do. I mean, do you want to move to Louisville? Because we'll come see you. We'll come see you.
Yeah. I always tell Elizabeth that. She'll something come up with our boys, and they'll say, "Well, just come on back home if you want to, and if you need to come back home for a little while, you can." I'm like, whoop, whoop, whoop. No,
Yeah.
Living here is not an option. Now you can come back and have your own place, but we have already redone your rooms.
Yeah.
Your rooms there's no more my room anymore. It's we've redone it.
Isn't it the office?
Furniture, so
Didn't you put a sauna in that room or something?
Yeah, we fixed that up. They're
you
gone.
tell
They're
Clay.
out, so.
You tell Clay if he wants to drive to Nashville, he can just drop his truck off, and then I'll get him a way back to Little Rock.
Okay,
that's a bad truck.
It is. He's
man,
he's all about some of them trucks, man.
Yeah.
You got your CDL or had your CDL at one time?
I had
when
my Class
did you get
A.
that? Did you get that going when you were working at the trucking company or the selling trucks?
Yeah, so Volvo had a program. You had to have a CDL because we're delivering trucks.
I got
Anytime you had to deliver a new truck, you had to be able to drive it. So I got a Class A with the 57 exemption, which means that I could drive a Class A with air brakes not in combination. I could only bobtail. So they had a special license just for guys like me.
That's good.
So whenever I did get into trucking operations, I did do some hustling around the yard. I moved trailers, and I was made fun of many times by lots of the old hands that saw me trying to back trailers in. I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never been trained, but I thought, okay, it can't be that hard. Well, a blindside back when you're pulling between 2 trailers, that's not easy. No,
I'd have to stop, get out, walk around, come back. Well,
the thing is, there would be like a congregation of people start looking and laughing, and you can see I'm trying to back up, and they're sitting there laughing.
And the face is even getting redder because
Finally, I just jump out and say, "Okay, one of y'all do it. I'm done.
Yeah,
I got more important things to do.
Yeah, give me some help. I give up.
Yeah.
What's the future look like for KC Phillips?
I think it's radio. I think it's radio. I don't know. If they'll keep me.
Oh, they'll keep you.
I do value my job. I love events like this where you get to get out and get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
And really, now tomorrow's going to be rain. So typically on Friday night, I'll go out to the Papa John's parking lot and hang out and have a couple of adult beverages and, really commune. I don't think it's going to happen just because of the rain. It's getting ready to happen. But as far as long-term future, what I would love to do is I'd love to just keep doing what I'm doing, develop good relationships with our sponsors. We're very grateful for your sponsorship, and just keep bringing good content to the show. Sirius XM has a desire to always be striving for relevance, great content, entertainment, and they want to serve everybody. And the trucking community was so instrumental in even bringing satellite radio onto the market and into existence that It's very important.
And
to
you
them.
know that had to be risky for somebody to say,
Sure, but what does it mean though?
let's talk trucking.
Yeah, what does it mean whenever a driver can pick up in LA and drive to New York and keep the same signal? Yeah, it was groundbreaking at the time, and so trucking is the reason that it really worked.
Yeah, because who's your better audience than that guy? And I mean, I love that is. It's still fresh on my mind that you can actually set a station and never have to change it. You know,
that's right.
Seek button as you're going to another town. You put it on that one station, and man, you can listen to it all day long. I mean, I'm addicted. I listen to
R&B. You're telling me like hip hop, right?
right, rap or something. Yeah, I listen to a lot of that country.
You know what the best driving station for me is?
What?
Is Channel 98, Comedy USA.
Oh, yeah.
It's clean, and it's just a compilation of comic after comic after comic, and we will just roll. It keeps you alert because, you know, they got good drum beat coming in. They're always changing a new comic. It's really good. And then sports, you got MLB. Here I am now, the billboard for Sirius XM. But they got a lot to offer listeners. So it's good.
I mean, it's good. I'm addicted to it too, and I appreciate it because they've helped us get the word about Oakley out. I mean, you guys have been great at helping us do that, so it's been good.
And we talked about it earlier. The message is there. Oakley has the message, so we can only aspire to give the same message.
That's right. That's right.
But to close, it's just about people,
and it's. More importantly, with us, it's about truck drivers and them being successful. And we always try to give our owner-operators, our listeners, good content to make them more successful every day. Anything that they can do that we say here that helps them, whether it's mentally, physically, financially, something they can go, okay, I'm getting it now. I'm going to be successful. And Oakley's helped make me successful, and that's what we want to do too. I mean, it's got to work together, KC.
That's exactly right. Well, I'm looking forward to our continued relationship.
We will, man. I appreciate you hanging out with me.